Hey guys, it's Nick from TV Priest, and today we thought it'd be nice to show you a little bit about Saintless and how how we layered stuff and the channels we used and the sounds we used to kind of create Saintless and how the track came to be. There's a couple of quite interesting sounds which we thought we'd show you. So the first one, which you hear at the very beginning of the track, is this very jangly electric guitar. But it's very acoustic sounding, and it's very jangly, and it's very sharp, and we actually got that sound not from amplifying it and recording an amp, but just recording the strings of the guitar itself. So it's taking like a small diaphragm condenser, like what we call a pencil microphone, and just pointing it up against the strings, about 6, 7, 8 inches, something like that, away from the strings, and you get all of the kind of the finger noises and the plectrum picks and all of the really quite intimate sounds from the guitar, which you kind of lose sometimes when you run a guitar through an amp. So I'll give you a kind of close-up on those and solo those for you. So I'll record the play back the first one for you now. So you can hear there it's quite crudely chopped together, but with layering a couple of different takes, which were reasonably improvised. There was a kind of idea how the song would be, but it's quite a collage, this song, and it's been kind of developed over quite a long time. It's one of the older songs, which kind of developed from a jam, which we really liked, and it was metronomic, and it was kind of continual and progressive, and it got louder and louder and louder, and we just didn't really know how to kind of contain that and capture that. So it ended up being quite a collage of sounds and palettes of sound and parts over the course of the creation of the album. So those two guitars being layered, you kind of gets a lot more depth. You can hear all of the kind of the high frequencies, which, like you say, you kind of lose through an amp. And those are actually run through this plugin called Sketch Cassette, which I love. It's absolutely amazing. And it kind of adds basically like a tape noise to it. So I'll play it without, just so you can get a feel for what the actual pure sound of it actually sounds like straight from the mic. There's a little bit of EQ in there as well, just kind of taking and taming some of the high frequencies once the Sketch Cassette's in. So it can get a little bit tinny. But what that plugin does is kind of imitates the kind of flange and the saturation and some of the hiss, although I think the hiss is off on that one. Yeah, there's nothing going in. But yeah, this plugin's fantastic. I love it. I use it all over the place now. It's great for like drum machines and giving a bit of like dirt and grime and a bit of kind of randomness to elements which can otherwise be quite clinical and digital and not so nice. And this emulates the sound of a tape, or tries to, and adds in wow and flutter, which are these kind of analog problems which occur with tape, where the heads don't necessarily move at the right speed together and fall out of sync a little bit, and one pulls and then it gets a bit slower, and it gets a bit faster, it gets a bit slower. And then this is my favorite button, noise reduction compensation, I believe. And that it basically acts as a compressor and boosts a load of high frequencies, and it gives just a real energy to whatever you put through it, and I love that. It's priceless, I think. And so the other thing I really wanted to show on this track is the kind of side chaining compression, ducking, as it's also called, that comes in towards the end of the song. And we kind of chose to do this as the song is it's at the end of the album. We wanted it to kind of feel like a sort of sort of like a burial ritual almost of the album. At the end of the album, this incredibly intimate personal song into which we can't really pour much more, and setting this thing ablaze into the ocean. And that's, you know, and we kind of achieved that by this ducking and the song feeling like it's kind of tearing itself apart. And that's created by using like a ducker, or what we call a ducker or a sidechain compression on the whole track, on the track as a whole before mastering. And so you can hear that via this ducking kick and the changing of rhythm here. And you hear the kind of breathing of the track in time with this ducker, which is pulling the compressor. I'll show you that now. You can see here that the track, this is the master channel, master strip. And you can see this threshold going down and down and down, slower and slower. And as it gets towards the end of the track, there's a little bit more compression. And the gain reduction starts to become a bit more aggressive, more and more aggressive. I mean, this is like, people don't tend to do this on master channels. This is quite weird. This goes against a lot of kind of technical standards. You know, you're taught never ever mess with the master track. Don't change it. Don't kind of, your mix bus is your mix bus. But we really wanted to kind of this one to kind of fall apart. So this took a bit of a kind of work between us or myself in production and mixing, and then sending it to Kevin Tuffy, the mastering engineer, and kind of getting that balance between the rest of the song kind of building and building and building, and then this bit which is actually being quite heavily compressed, still kind of being raised up level wise and it being loud enough to kind of have the impact. So I'll play that to you, the whole song, just as this bit builds and Ducker comes in. So yes, you can really hear it kind of tearing itself, pulling at itself, and that conflict there in the compressor, trying to get louder but also pulling itself down, and that's kind of triggered by this kick drum here, which I pointed out earlier. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know, and it'd be great to hear from you. And I hope you like the tracks, and see you for more of these soon. Bye.